What's up, guys? We are live. Oh, another episode of Gutter Live. Colin, how are you, my man?
I'm doing awesome. How are you today, Frank?
Wonderful. Happy Wednesday. It feels like a
Right.
Friday, doesn't it?
It does it?
For me, it does.
I don't
It's
know,
been a week
man.
already, dude.
I'm like, I don't know, man. It's like every week hits and it hits Thursday. I'm like, crap, it's Thursday already.
Oh, it flies
Like,
fast.
just can't get enough done in a day.
Anything
So,
cool today? Anything wild and exciting?
you know what? I hired a new sales rep. So we've been adding pretty much one a week for the last like month. It's been awesome.
Badass. Nice.
But added one today, and I got to run my first lead with him.
Yeah.
And he'd run, shadowed a couple other guys, and I put on a freaking clinic. Like it was like textbook, man, throughout, and almost got them to jump for the designer roof, and go with the $45,000 option instead of the $23,000. But
We'll take that $23,000 roof all day.
I'll take it all day. Still, yeah, right. But yeah, just put on a clinic. Like we walked out of there, and he was like, "Holy cow, this makes sense now." And I was like, "Yeah, let's go, man." So
nothing like leading by example.
What's that?
Nothing like leading by example. When you could demonstrate how it's done and close. It's like, look, there it is. You can do it too, buddy.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. How about you? Any big hits today? Anything?
Yeah, I had a couple major sales today. This week has been phenomenal. Last week was phenomenal. We're killing it right now. Drainage is off the hook. Gutters are selling too, but I run the drainage side, and the tickets are just monstrous. So, I'm blinders on. I look at the gutter numbers every day, and I'm like, good. And then I'm doing my thing over here. Today, though, was my big hit today. My big happening today before I went to work was I had to take my 5-year-old son to the dentist. He has 2 cavities in his molars. His teeth, the way they are like coming in, they're too close together, and it's trapping food. And the dentist we take him to tried to drill his teeth a few weeks ago, and he just like panicked, wasn't having it. So I had to take him to a pediatric dentist. And it was my wife took him for the first round. Today was my turn. And, I'm like, we're going to get this done, buddy. So I prepped him for weeks.
You gave him some Dramamine, or not Dramamine, some Dayquil before you went. And
oh, man, we just got interrupted. So they gave him gas. And I flipped out. I didn't know it was going to hit me so hard. I'm looking at my little wiry noodle of a son. He's like a string bean, and they're gassing him, and he's high on drugs. And I'm like, I literally put tears in my eyes. I'm like, I don't like this. Got it done like a total G. He was a total savage with it. Perfect patient. They got it done quick and easy. They're like, he's so easy, but I'm like, yeah, he's high. Like it was so traumatic for me, and I kept my cool in front of him, but that was like parenting experience. My oldest is 12, and I never really dealt with that with her. But oh my God, man, you don't know until you're in the midst of it. But that was the start of my day, and then I dove into my work day like a little frazzled. But
you're right, it gives you like a different perspective for like parents who watch their adult children battle substance abuse. It's gotta be equally as hard seeing their kid like just messed up.
I got all of that flashed in front of me. Like I'm thinking of him as an adult, and he's coming into the house at night after going out with his buddies, and he's all like goofy. And I had my fun as a kid, but when it's the other way around, you're like, no, I'm not okay with this. So it was, dude, he's out of it. He slid his hands in his pockets. He was just acting weird. And I'm like, Jesus, it's killing me.
Yeah, right.
But let's get into it. We have a pretty awesome show put together today. I'm very excited about it. And we got a lot of background noise here right now. We have a surprise crew pulling in at 8:20 tonight. Unbelievable. So the show we put together, let me just kind of set it up, right? And then we're going to bring out our guest, Austin Funk. Let's just get right into it. This dude, I've been talking to him for years. He's a hell of an installer. He's a very interesting guy. He's second generation, 2 times over. His biological dad, his stepdad, they're both metal workers, sheet metal workers. I mean, he comes from this background, very good at what he does, and has some very deep knowledge on power inverters. He came to me and came right at me in DMs and was like, "Hey, listen, I have some knowledge to drop. What do you think about that?" And we talked about it him and I years ago. I've talked to a few other guys. I've been, just like you probably, I've been meaning to put together a power inverter system for one of my trailers. And if it works, do it on my other trailer, get it into one of the vans. That's always been on the agenda. I just haven't got to it. I did the research maybe 2 or 3 times over the years and then failed to launch, failed to implement. I was just like, whatever, I'll get to it. I'm still running gas generators. A lot of guys are, and they suck. I mean, they're loud, they're dirty, they're hot. You got to gas them. You got to be prepared. You got to go out in the morning and make sure it's filled. It's just a whole dirty, messy pain in the ass.
Right.
And
for owners, the guys forget to put gas in them, or that means a gas station stop, which means getting their coffee and their daily things and taking their morning dump. And it's just like, come on, it's 9 o'clock. Get to the darn job.
You're right. You get them too close to the ho-ho stand, and then you get the delays, right?
Right.
So, Austin's got a lot of knowledge to drop. What I want to do is, and you and I got to have a chat with him, right? So you're meeting this guy for the first time.
Awesome dude. Holy smokes.
Yeah. So what I want to do is sort of just get him out, do a little intro and let him introduce himself to the crowd. And then, we want to learn about his business first, right? So everybody can relate. They know where he's coming from and what his capabilities are. And then let's just get into it. He's prepared. This got all kinds of homework and research. Not research. He already has it upstairs in his brain, but he put pen to paper and has created documentation on how to do this stuff. Oh. So, and he's willing to extend that. That's all his. I said, dude, that's your IP. Do what you want with it. We would love to share it. Maybe we get it on GutterApp. Maybe we extend it to the audience in many ways and fashions. That's up to him. But for now, I think we have a nice conversation where he sort of walks us through the steps and the phases and parts and pieces, maybe cost, timeline to put it together. And I mean, how many thousands of guys out there could really benefit from this? This is a huge one.
Yeah. Let's get him out here.
Get him out. Austin, come on out, brother. How you doing, dude?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for being here, man.
It's about time, right?
Yeah. Been talking to you for a while now. So
yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Give our audience at home just a little background on you, a couple minutes on who you are, what you do, a little bit about your business.
Yeah. So second generation sheet metallist, like Frank said, the biological father is a sheet metallist. My stepfather is a sheet metallist. So, no matter where I was at during, the school season or the summer season, I was, always on the job, anytime I could be. But anyway, going along with the business, I got some sales training, and that's kind of what turned things around. So I took that and started off small and started with with Angie's List, which everybody knows is cutthroat, but
yeah.
Started from nothing. Like I said, $500 is what I told you guys earlier, and that's the honest to God truth. Besides obviously car payment and all that, but if as long as you have a vehicle, it was $500, just some hand tools. I convinced Angie's List to sign me on for very cheap, and then it was pretty much game over from there.
Love it. So. Now for the guys at home, Austin, and you could uplift this, you could laugh at it, and if you laugh, screw you. But Austin started with a car and a ladder strapped to it. And I remember years ago him posting a photo on Facebook of that setup. And man, that is as raw as it gets. You put it all out there, and you want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah. So you know, I grew up with nothing. I grew up dirt poor, so if we didn't have a ladder, you built one out of 2x4s,
Yeah.
to get up there and do something. Or I was the oldest, and a lot of times my mom was at work, so I was in charge of doing things, and I had to figure things out. So that's what that accumulated to was, I had a goal. Um, I kind of knew where priorities needed to be, and as long as I could get the customer to sign on, at the end of the day, did it really matter what I pulled up in? It could have been a Home Depot truck. It could have been, whatever. As long as the quality was there and the customer got what they wanted, that's what I seen. That was an opportunity. Um,
So are you a
but
Ford man now, a GMC man, or are you a Dodge guy?
I'm a whatever works,
All right.
what is reliable.
Let's
For the
go.
longest time, I didn't like Fords. But turns out I've built my business off the 2000 F-250
Awesome.
7.3.
There you go.
Popular truck. I
So,
had one.
regardless of what, color I like, brand I like, that really doesn't matter. For me, it's about reliability, being able to complete these jobs and get it done to be able to make profit.
Well, I respect your gangster, sir.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Did go? I want to go back to your car days. One of my mentors, his name is Josh Latimer. He started a window cleaning business, and same situation. He had his ladder strapped, and he said he would sometimes, like if he was in a nice neighborhood and doing a window cleaning on a nice job, he'd park like around the corner so customers couldn't see him in his. I think he had like a Chevy Cavalier or something like that. And he just walked
Right.
up with the ladder, like, "Yeah, I was doing the neighbor's house," and the customer's like, "How did you get what?"
Yeah.
And,
You did
did
it.
you ever have that like embarrassment and like?
Yeah. So, a lot of times, you have to present an image, whether it be real or not. Sometimes you have to present it to get the customer to trust you,
Yeah.
and, sometimes they're not going to trust you pulling up with the car and a ladder, so, yeah, I've pulled around a corner. I've knocked on all neighborhoods. Um, you know, um, when I first started my business, I was actually still working for basement systems. I would get through my day super quick, sell super quick, and get off by 12, and then go do gutters. And a lot of my excuses on why I had to tell the customers, "Hey, I'll be showing up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon." I had to tell them all the time, "Oh, I have a lot of other jobs,
Yeah.
going on, da 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 da." And I didn't want to tell them, "Oh, I'm still working. This isn't my full time." I didn't want them to think that this is just a hobby or
Of course.
I'm a fly by night person, because I was taking it as seriously as possible.
That's right.
You know
So
what, man? I sympathize. We all started. Well, I started with nothing too. I bootstrapped the whole thing. I remember those days, man. Such a crappy feeling, that stomach twisting knot, and it feels really good when you get away from that, right? When you blow up and you get out of that realm, and it's level, right? Like climbing that level, those levels, that ladder of achievement. You look back down at the bottom of the ladder, and like, man, I remember where I came from, and it feels good to be
oh
where
yeah.
I'm at.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
I started with
I
eight
used
hundred
to be
dollars.
that $5 and $6 a foot guy,
Yeah.
but
I
sometimes, like you said,
started
you just have to do
years
what you
ago.
have to do to get out there,
How
but
many years ago did you start this?
I started this like right as COVID was happening. It was
Oh,
2020 when I filed for my LLC.
okay.
Um, so I mean, realistically, I looked at it as an opportunity, because people were closing down. Nobody was going out and running bids.
Totally.
Companies didn't like doing the over the phone bids or just digital bids, and I was willing to take whatever I could get.
Right.
Where I, you know, I'm constantly reminded of this phrase from Jim Rohn. I don't know if you know who
Love him.
Rohn
Love
is.
him.
Yeah.
He's oldie but goodie.
Yeah, but he talked about, it's a rainy day, and one salesman says, "Oh, what a day it's raining. They can't expect you to make any sales." And then the other salesman goes, "Oh, what a day today's a great day to make sales. How can you not make any? Because everybody else is staying at home. You could be out doing it.
That's right.
So
Right.
that's just the approach.
All right, listen, let's get right into it, man. Let's get technical. Tell us about your expertise in this realm, how you got into it, and we'll let you kind of lead the way. Where do you want to take this conversation? Because there's a lot of guys at home that want to know how to do this. Obviously, you're not going to be able to pull this off entirely on a podcast, but you give everybody kind of a head start in the right direction. I mean, and you did a big data dump before this, right?
Yeah. So I got everything that I feel. It's not everything dealing with power and storage and all that, but it's the necessary what you need to know. So with my background, my grandfather owned a electronic repair business in the 80s. So he had a lot of old equipment. As a young kid, electronics just always, enthused me. I took things apart, put them back together.
You were at Radio Shack a lot?
Yes. I bought a lot of stuff from Radio Shack.
Me too.
But
all the Radio
so
Shack.
I took that and anyway, that's kind of before I got back into the construction business. I was in the micro soldering business. I worked for CPR cell phone repair, St. Louis cell phone repair, different companies like that. So it's not just like a hobby enthusiasm. I actually did this, for a living for years before I got back into construction.
Interesting.
But going into that, we can, essentially start with inverters. Why I chose an inverter, over the generators. With the inverters, it's instant power. There's no pulling cords, there's no filling tanks, changing spark plugs, changing oil, dragging it out, dragging it in, it taking up a lot of space. Depending on, what your space requirements are, how big you're going. Right. But, there's a whole plethora of issues. I mean, heck, you could, throw a rod, it's an engine. There's a million different things that can go wrong.
It's true.
So I went with the power inverter, and I started off extremely cheap. I didn't use no switches, no fuses. It was just, it was really an experiment, and I started off real cheap with lead acid and just your basic Amazon inverter, and it worked. The theory of it working, but there was issues with battery storage. There was issues with features that I wanted to have that I didn't know I had, that a lot of other people would blow up their inverter because I did. I actually blew up a brand new inverter I bought within like minutes of installing it.
You have the guy that made all the mistakes first.
I mean, pretty much, and I've spent more money than what I'm going to tell you at the end that you could spend.
Okay.
So just rest assured on that.
All right.
So let me see if I can share my screen here. Share screen.
Nobody's done that on the podcast yet, Frank. Share their screen.
Open system settings.
George, you want to give me a little guidance?
I got it here. Let me allow later.
Is that your mouse or his?
Okay. I'd have to quit this podcast and reopen it, so I'm not going to that. So I'll just read from it, and then I can post all this to the Facebook.
We'll share it. We'll share it.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Yeah. So let's start off from the beginning. Power requirements. What are we doing with this power inverter system? Is the main goal is what's going to structure the rest of this? Are we just going to be powering lights? Or are we going to be powering, gutter machines?
So that's a great point. I think a lot of, overhead lighting, right? Some accessories.
Right. And, chargers, so on and so forth. Right. So the three that I put on here is the gutter machine, the Milwaukee M18 battery charger, and a corded miter saw, because some people
Interesting.
use the miter saw for
Right.
miter cuts on the machine.
For sure.
So my KWM 5/6 inch combo uses 10 to 12 amps is what it says on the motor.
Okay.
And when you add that up, you come to 1400 watts. And the way you get wattage is voltage times amps. All
All
right.
right.
That's your basic mathematics and power here. All right. And that applies from AC to DC, right? So altogether, say you're running the gutter machine and you got your batteries charging. So right there, you're using 14.1, 14.2 amps of AC. All right. Keep that in mind. That will be like a constant throughout what I reference.
All right.
Now on to power storage. So like we went into with lead acid. So the most common batteries is going to be lead acid and lithium ion phosphate, or LiPo 4.
Okay.
So the characteristics of lead acid is they use what's called a C rating, or a discharge C rating. All right, and to put that, what that is 1C means that entire battery's capacity will discharge in 1 hour. All right.
Whoa.
So when you're looking for batteries, that's an important factor to look at.
See it up.
Go ahead.
See it up. Get them
Right,
seeds.
right. See it up. Yeah. So that's going to be an important factor if you go with lead acid, but I'm going to later on recommend that you don't. But let's just stick with it for right now. So the next thing to take into effect is what's called the Pukert effect, or Pukert's law. And what it states is high discharge rates causes large unusable energy. And so what that looks like is, let's say we have a 12-volt battery, right? And I put a large draw on it, right? What's going to happen is a voltage drop is going to go down, right? And to maintain wattage, when volts go down, amps have to go up.
Hmm.
But if that battery can only supply so many amps for a duration of time because of the C rating, then what'll happen is you'll have premature failure before you've used all that energy.
Okay.
All right. So let's put that into like a simulation here. So you have the power requirements of 14.1 amps at 120 volts. That's 1700 watts. So to pull 1700 watts from a power source, you're looking at 156 amps DC. All right. Good luck with lead acid. You're going to have so many multiple different batteries sharing that load for those batteries to discharge that. So
Okay.
that's where a lot of people go into problems when they first start their inverter system. They go with the lead acid because it's so much cheaper, lithium iron phosphate, but there's a reason. All right.
So we're just talking about a car or truck battery.
Uh, a little bit more because it holds more amps. Your car or truck battery probably only holds 15, 20 amps.
But just
Amp hours.
12-volt battery?
Yeah. The ones I'm referring to are like 100 amp hours.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't mess with anything less than 100 amp hours at 12 volts. That you're going to burn through that so quick.
So is that like a marine battery?
Yeah, deep cycle or
Deep
a
cycle,
marine
right.
battery. Yeah.
Something you'd put in like a piece of heavy equipment, right?
I'm sorry.
Deer.
Something you'd put in like a bulldozer or a big front end loader
Cat.
or something, right?
Right. Something that will use a high amount of discharge rate, but for a very short period of time.
Right.
Where
Yeah.
the Pukert effect doesn't come into an effect.
Mm-hmm.
We got some pukers out there.
Especially at GutterCon. Just
Sometimes.
So moving on to lithium ion phosphate. So most of these batteries will have a limit of 100 amp hours, or I'm sorry, 100 amp draw. So Doesn't matter if the battery is 1500 amp hours, 100 amp hours, doesn't matter the capacity. It will put a limit on how much it can draw, because the science of it is lithium iron phosphate is a lot more volatile than lead acid, so its energy discharge rate is very, very high. So they have charge controllers, they have discharge controllers as safety mechanisms. So the Pukert effect does not nearly affect lithium ion phosphate like lead acid does. That's going to be your biggest benefit with going from lead acid to lithium ion phosphate. And it's really what's going to help with the gutter machines and the chargers and the corded miter saws that pull those high amount of amps. Because what I will go on later in the system is more than likely you're going to have more than one battery, more than likely.
Right.
So when we draw current from there, from each of those battery sources, we have 100 amps that we can draw. So going back to that 14.2 amps at 120 volts, that comes to 1700 watts. Those 200 amps, that's within the 156 that it requires to run that. So right then and there, you have more than enough power source that can deliver, right? So you're not going to experience that voltage drop, and it's not going to cut out from you. So what that looks like is, let's say we have a 12 volt system, all right? A voltage drop, let's say a full charge, you're at 13.8. Well, a voltage drop may drop you down to 12 or 11. Well, that's going to cut off your inverter because it can't make AC from less than 12, right? Another reason why you want to go with lithium ion phosphate is because they can perform in cold weather. A lot of you northerners, the lead acid battery the north is going to kill you. It's almost going to make the inverter system not worth it for you.
What's a lithium ion battery cost at the size you're talking?
If we're looking at, let's see here, let me go down to the cost breakdown that I have. So the one that I have recommended here, which is a 24 volt, 100 amp hour Battle-Born battery, that's a brand specific. You're looking at about $850 for one.
Okay.
Yeah, but they last a lot longer, and you get 95% of usable energy from a lithium ion phosphate. You only get 50% of usable energy from a lead acid battery.
Wow. Big difference.
Yeah. Wow. Big difference. And because lithium ion phosphate doesn't experience a Pukert effect nearly as much as a lead acid, it can perform in cold weather. All the way down, I do believe, into like 0 degrees Fahrenheit, it can discharge at its normal rate. Charging is a little bit different. And they do have some versions of the batteries that have internal heaters that heat the battery to allow you to charge it in cold temperatures.
Oh, interesting.
So if you keep your trailer, go ahead.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. We used to have to bring our batteries in when it was cold, and it's still smart to, even with our M18 batteries or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it's still smart to bring them in, but they don't die nearly as fast as our batteries used to.
No, they don't.
So
yeah,
I don't know why my brain never
batteries for sure.
What was that, Austin?
The science in batteries and the quality has just improved since 2000s. I mean, it really doesn't seem much, but it definitely has.
$850 battery better heat.
Right? Yeah, that thing better make you some money, right? Well, it literally does. This whole system is designed to save you time. It's not only designed to save time, but it's designed for convenience, right?
So the idea is it's ready to go all the time. It's on, it's off. You're not messing around with the generator and setting it up. It's just hit you.
Well, here's the unforeseen that people don't think about. What if you plug into a circuit on one of your customers' houses and they have a grandfather that's on a CPAP machine?
Oh boy!
And you just blew a circuit and nobody's inside the house to know it.
You got to freak everybody out.
You know,
but you're right.
So, you know, it's just a convenience factor, you know, and then in your sales, right? When you're selling, you could be like, look, a lot of these people are going to plug up to your house. They're going to steal your power, cost you more money. We're not.
Yeah.
It's a little bit stuff, but it's something to add to the sale. You know, it's
100%
different. You know,
it's people. It's just a violation. It's not the cost of the energy. It's just like, you're not self-sufficient. Oh, you're relying on me. You got to plug into my house. And
well, if you work on like an off-site place, I mean, you may be charging your customer a fuel fee for the generator.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. That's another thing I wanted to get at. I don't charge no premium to any of my customers for using this. This is more of just a benefit.
That's the way you're doing business.
You know.
Well,
yeah. So,
you know, the big thing is like $850 battery. Holy crap! You know, we know we can get fill up this $160 marine batteries from.
Well, I'm sure he wants you to use a few of them too.
Yeah. Right. Well, so we think about that, and I'm like, okay, you said it saves you time, and off air we were talking about this a little bit, and it's like, or maybe it was on air already. I don't remember, but your guys. They got the generator, so now they got to go fill it up every morning. Now they're at the gas station. They're at the gas station. Now they're getting all their little Debbies, and then they're hitting the head, and
they're eating.
They got their phone out and they're scrolling social media for 15 minutes, taking a crap, right?
Watching all the Colin's videos.
Yeah, watching all my videos.
Yeah, or going around.
Let them keep going.
I mean, there's been times where I showed up to a house, none of the damn outlets work on the customers outside of the house.
No doubt about it. That's the worst. That's the worst. Right. This is what I want to do. It sounds like you have some heavy technical information, and I definitely want to get that in everybody's hands. What I'd like to do is sort of who, what, where, why, how. If we could
slim it down.
We'll scratch the surface and dive in a little bit under the skin. But what I have some pointed questions. For one, like, put it this way, can somebody at home, a contractor at home that may not be a pseudo electrician such as yourself, can they build this system on their own? Or is this a little advanced?
Yes. I mean,
follow instructions and put it together, right? It's not crazy.
If the why is powerful enough, the how is easy.
Okay. And then how much time would somebody need to invest to put something together and kind of customize, trick out, tuck wires, make it work.
You're looking at from start to finish. If you had everything in front of you, you didn't have to wait on any ordering. If you had everything in front of you, and you had a helper, right? That's important there. If you had a helper, you're looking at probably 8 hours.
Okay.
You can get it done in
a weekend hobby deal, weekend chore.
Yeah. So let's clarify. Somebody who's never done it can get it done in 8 hours, or you could get it done in 8 hours.
Anybody that's never done it before and has the willingness to Google simple stuff like positive and negative, grounding, and reading the instruction manual on the inverter. It'll explain what neutral bonding is, and then you don't have to do that in the panel. You could keep this very simple. You could go, extremely complicated.
Right.
Like for instance, I have in this note blog that I wrote of alternative power. So the amount of time that you go from job to job, the alternator could be charging those batteries in the back.
Good point.
The amount of time that you sit in traffic, it's going to be charging.
So you're drawing power from the hitch, or from the truck?
No, you do have to run 1-aught cable from a fuse block from your alternator and have what I use is a forklift battery connector.
Huh.
And that's at the trailer hitch. And so you just connect it just like that. And you keep it plugged in. The device that I recommend, and we can go into that later, will detect that your vehicle's on or off. So it won't just drain your battery with it still plugged in if you forget.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. What about you said alternative energy, and Greg January said, what about solar panels? Can you run
That
solar
was the
panels?
second part. That was the second part. So I haven't done that to my trailer. That is one of the next step. But if your trailer does sit outside, not in a shop, sometimes because I've been from different vehicle to vehicle, I haven't always had this vehicle with the capability to charge the batteries. So there has been times where I had to come back in, plug in the inverter to charge the batteries from shore power is what they call it. But if you had a solar panel, you just park it. Don't matter what truck you're in, and as it, obviously the sun shines, it charges it, which will extend the usage as well
Yeah.
because it would lighten the load that it takes from the battery.
So you do use solar panels?
No, I do not. I am going to, but I'm still figuring out the best way to implement it on the trailer.
Okay. Greg at home had asked that question. Solar panel to charge it. How long does a system last? Like, what's the longevity on one of these things? Are they
So 5 to 10 years.
okay?
And yes, that's a big jump, but it's really about the quality that you're keeping the battery storage.
Yeah, it's like anything, right? And how abusive you are on it, how much you're running it.
Right.
If you're doing thousands of feet of gutter a week, I mean, I would imagine it's cycling way more. So it's putting a beating on it.
Well, for our industry, as long as you keep it under, I want to say maybe 2,000, maybe 3,000 foot a day. I mean, you'll get 10 years out of it.
All right. So that's most guys.
Yeah. I mean,
hold up. You said how many feet a day?
As long as you're not like draining it and then letting it sit drained for a
2,000
while,
feet.
or like forcibly trying to get it to charge while it's cold, or like, taking heat guns to it to try and heat it up, stuff like that. What I use, because I got the batteries that don't have the heater. And what I devise is an RV tank heater that you use for your septic tank in the RVs.
Yeah.
I got one specifically designed for the Battle-Born batteries.
Cool.
So, long story short, if I go on vacation, I leave my batteries on the charger while I go. And if we're in the winter, I want to make sure that they're at the proper temperature for the entire time that I'm gone. So I leave that on, I keep it on the charger, and then when I come back, they're 100%, they're ready to go. And this system that I'm running here, I've been running for 4 years, and I've had 0 issues. Go ahead.
Have you thought about like assembling the parts and the pieces, or putting them together, throwing them in a box nicely, getting an instruction manual together, and reselling this? I mean, I think there'd be a lot of guys, as long as you have a very tight manual where you could source. It sounds like you've trial and error. You found the right products and the right cabling and the right batteries. I'm sure guys would be willing to have a turnkey kit. Have you thought about putting something together?
I have, but sometimes what I understand and what I think is standard knowledge, or is knowledge that other people are willing to go out and look for, is not. So before, I thought it was too simple, and like I'm trying to get into a market that really don't exist. But I mean, I'm just pretty much a gutter guy. I'm not an electrician, so I don't know if there's
you're an electrician, buddy. It's very obvious to us.
Right.
You're more of an electrician than I am. Well,
I've just done research. The information's out there. Google is your best friend.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah. So, there's a bunch of, or not, I would say a bunch, but few other folks I talked to that were very helpful and very willing to share and put this out. So I love that you put this together. Can we talk about costs? Like what would let's talk like low end, just get her done. And then like something that's a little primo that could last that 5-10 years, like something that's going to be for a guy running gutter every day.
Yeah.
Something reliable. What are they going to spend to do this?
So you're looking at, let me add this up on a calculator here.
Drum roll, please. Because I don't know where I'm going to get my guess, Colin, is $2,500.
I'm going to say like 1,800. I might be way off, but
we'll do a little Price is Right.
So this is without lead acid, because I'm telling you, I don't recommend it. You're just going to have issue after issue after issue.
Yeah.
So I would never recommend lead acid. All right. So
okay.
Bare minimum, right out the door, you're looking at 36 to 38.
Oh, Philip Fillinger just said 3,200. He beat us both.
36 to 38. And
nailed it.
The reason being is because, yes, you can get one of those $500 inverters, all right? But like how we talked about, I don't have time to explain everything.
Let me do some just fast.
Quality with inverters and electricity is very important. Very important. You don't want a modified sign. You want something that is going to be able to handle your peaks, handle your constant wattage, because what's more expensive is constant blown motors.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, like I just did some quick. I did some quick math at the beginning with the $850 battery.
Yeah.
I was like, $850 battery. Like my crews pump out about $6,000 a day in total revenue for us. So that's $750 an hour. That's 2-man crew.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, so I wanted to figure out how much per hour. So now I save the trip to the gas station, the morning dump at the gas station. All
when
that.
you put it that way, yeah, it's a no-brainer.
When you look at it that way, it's like $750 times 5 days a week. That's $3,700.
There's a lot of time wasted.
Well, not just this too. Have you ever had a situation where you had to run an extension cord across the road?
Yeah.
And then you got the car driving by, and then it's damaging your extension cord. Or what it's doing is it's breaking the strands, and you don't see it. And then now you got low voltage on your machine, and your cable looks fine, but now you just blow water because now you got a lot of resistance because you got broken strands.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
mean, let's say you're spending $1,000 in a year on a gas generator for gas.
Right.
And then, a quality gas Jenny is going to be $1,000, let's say. So there's $2,000 right there. So, 2 years cost, but major convenience and efficiency. I think it's a clean trade-off for the guys that are cranking out there. $4,000 is or $3,600 or $3,800. I think it's a sound investment. That's soup to nuts. $3,800, every part and piece you need, every widget and
everything to do it right and to do it safe and to have bare minimum features.
Bare minimum features. All right.
Yes.
I mean, it's not cheap, but we know what it is, right? Yeah. But I mean, when you're paying for those big inverters, those things in of themselves, these, a lot of companies have these products that are out there too. They're a couple $1,000s anyway, right? You're paying $2,500, $3,000 for a name brand power inverter.
Well, I mean, look at this. How much is a KWM 5.6 combo?
Like 15, 13 to 15, depending on
these days,
what accessories you're getting.
There you go. I mean, this is going to be, yes, it is a bigger expense, but in the grand scheme of things, your truck costs more than your gutter machine. Your gutter machine costs more than the inverter, So, I mean, you just have to see the value in it, I see the value in it by saving me time from being able to open up that door, flip that switch, start running the coil.
Yeah.
I'm not unwounding cords. I'm not looking for this. I'm not looking for that.
No change in performance.
Power is there. There's been plenty of times, especially during these shortages during COVID, that these new construction homes didn't have the temporary power built because there was a shortage on power boxes for a while in my area. So it was a definite necessary that every contractor had a generator, and everybody was running to from the gas stations. I'm just here busting out houses. I'm not picking the generator back up. I'm hitting these houses and I'm out.
I mean, I definitely had some back strain back in the day. I used to be big enough to just pick up a generator full of gas and put it in the back of a truck. And what an idiot to do that. But I used to just muscle those things up, and they probably definitely did some disc damage. I'll tell you that.
That's right.
Well, all right. So what about safety and hazards? And like, is there any fear of fire or,
Yeah. So you have to place this in a very cautious area, right? So your trailer is going to bounce around. They got to be secure. You know what I'm saying? They don't need to be moving left to right, up and down. They need to be staying still. Okay. Each of these lithium ion phosphate batteries are around 30 pounds.
Okay.
Lead acid, double that. All right. For each battery. Right. But you got to make sure that all your cabling is not getting hung up by material sliding in and out of there.
Yeah. Do you recommend channeling that and kind of protecting it, hiding it?
Yeah. So in certain areas, like where I had the shelves where my downspouts sometimes slide back and forth, I used to have flexible conduit and it kept getting ripped out because of
like
the box.
Smurf tube.
So I switched to the metal conduit, and that fixed everything.
That makes sense.
But
the on that flexi is what snags everything, right?
Yeah. And fuses, a lot of people think, I'm going to get this big fuse and it's going to be great. It's going to protect it. You have to size the fuse proper to what you're using it for, because here's an example. All right. Let's say we got a 200 amp fuse, but you're only ever going to be pulling no more than 90 or 100 amps. All right. So if that wire accidentally arcs, and the resistance of that arc is high enough, it may actually look like a regular draw. And so you may have 80 or 90 amps running through something, and because you got a bigger fuse than what you need, that fuse is blowing. It's just letting it run.
Yeah.
So what I recommend is your fuse needs to be 10% bigger than what you're operating. So if you're operating at 100 amps, your fuse needs to be 110, 120.
Okay. It's good to know.
Yeah. Your switches on your batteries, they need to be arc safe. Some switches aren't. And when you're dealing with an inverter with batteries, they have a lot of current, so they create a lot of arc. If you use a switch that don't have arc protection, you can prematurely blow a fuse because of that instant pull from the inverter. It's going to see it and wants to, instantly pull some from it, that inrush current.
Gotcha.
So there's other ways to avoid that, but just get the right switch.
You done any video work or any YouTube stuff to share any of this knowledge? I mean, this is like screaming YouTube DIY type of video.
I can start working on it.
Colin and I could help produce this for you. But what do you think, buddy? Colin?
I mean, I like I told you, all this information, I don't want any money for it. I just want to help people, because this is a constant.
I appreciate that. That's what we're all about here.
If what I do can help you be safe and not burn your trailer down, everybody wins.
Kyle, what do you think?
I've got Philip just asked a really good question. He said, why does KWM recommend a 6K inverter and a 5K generator when the draw is only like 1,700?
Great question. And I've talked to the engineers at KWM, and the reason being is because they're covering their ass if you use any type of extension cord, because the only way to officially power the machine is through an extension cord plug. That's why. But what you do is you take open your machine just to be sure, because my motor may be different than your motor, right? On the motor, it'll tell you how many amps that uses, right? So for who was it that asked that question?
Philip.
Okay, so Philip, if the KWM just uses 1200 watts, but you use an extension cord, that 1200 watts, because of resistance, may now become 2000 watts. And then you have what's called inrush current. So the moment that you initially start that machine, it may, for the split second, require 4000 watts. But just for that split second, just to start the motor, right? So that's why they say they require a 6,000 watt, is so they cover their ass on whatever extension cord you use. In my documentation, I constantly recommend a 10-2 Romex hardwired into the machine.
Smart.
That way you could use less wattage.
Matt Wendell.
That's like one qualm I have, whether it be NewTek, KWM, whoever, that they put a 10-inch cord and plug on their darn machines. It's like, come on, guys.
A little pigtail.
Yeah, right. Like, come on, just give us at least 6 foot. 6 foot can get us to most of our stuff, right?
Well, you know what I think it is it probably hangs out the door of the trailer or the truck, and then it gets cut because somebody shuts the door on it.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
It could be anything. It could be them just trying to save cost on copper wire.
Let me inject this comment. Matt Wendell, what's up, buddy? Matt, how you doing? He's saying 5K inverter would not run his half-round machine, but the 6K inverter has no issues.
So what you have to look for is what that peak power is. Can that inverter supply that inrush current to start that motor? Because like I said,
it's all starting amps, right?
It's all it's all starting amps.
If you talk to any electrician, they'll understand what inrush current is.
Yeah.
But yeah, inrush current almost requires double the amount of wattage. Yeah.
That's what Greg just said. Be careful. Inrush is
the inverter that I recommend is Victron Energy 3000 watts running a 24 volt system or higher. Don't go with the 12 volt.
At home, write that down. You want to say that one more time, Austin?
A Victron Energy 24 volt 3000 watt inverter system.
Is that the most expensive piece to the puzzle?
That is the heart. You can try to go cheap on everything else.
Not that.
Don't go cheap on that, and don't go cheap on the batteries.
I like it.
What it looks like, let me pull that price up again for the inverter for the one I just mentioned.
Tell you what, Frank.
$1,185. And that's, I take that back. That's for the 48 version, the 48 volt version. And I was going to go into that, but it's technical, I guess. So.
I pay about $1,200 for inverters for pumps. And this bring you back to your pump days. From the basement, a half horsepower pump.
Yeah, the M53.
Yeah, it's about $1,200 for those things. Putting on a battery backup, you know?
Yeah. Tell you what, I do not miss those days calling and crawl spaces flooded.
For those that don't know, he mentioned basement systems earlier. And that's one of the things that Austin and I relate on. Austin did the reverse. He came from drainage, pumps, basement pumps, sump pumps, and then parlayed into gutter. And I think that's a great play, just like I think rain gutters into drainage or pumps and, solving basement problems is a great parlay because, one customer leads to you could cross sell, right? You could bring that same customer across both realms of business. Kyle, what were you going to say?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
we're getting a lot of interaction on this. Like people are digging this.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, this is good.
Well, where do we take this from here? I mean, Austin, how do we? Colin and I both have staff. We're happy to sort of press the documentation and formalize it and digitize it or proliferate it to the audience. I don't certainly you and we talked about this days ago. I'm an IP guy. This is your intellectual property. I do not want to do a damn thing with it because it's your sweat equity and your heart and soul. If you do want to share it, by all means, we will get it out there. But
I mean, I've got trucks. Like if I bought everything you said, well, I run box trucks, so hopefully this would work in a box truck too. I'm sure it would.
Of course.
But so we run box trucks. If I bought the equipment and then
do a video
come up and like we just film you doing the install, and then you can take it and do what you want with it. Post it on your YouTube, whatever else, right?
Sounds great to me.
How far away are you two from each other?
Yeah, you're like St. Louis, right? It's like 11 hours.
Yeah.
Where are you?
I got it. Plains.
I'm up in Ludington, Michigan.
Okay.
Like halfway up, man. So
yeah.
Colin, I mean, I find value in this, especially for the general population. I mean, I'm sure we could collaborate and go to him or meet in the middle, figure out a way to sort of.
I mean, you can figure something out,
Yeah.
Right.
I love this. I think this is great.
Yeah, I mean, I got a buddy with a bed and breakfast. I'll put you and your wife up in it. Like,
okay,
we'll do some cool stuff. I live in a lake town. Like, it's summer in northern Michigan. Like, let's put you up in Lake Michigan. Let's get you on the beach. Like, let's do the thing, man.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds, I came here to help, and that's really what my main goal is. So
we appreciate that.
If giving you guys this information, helping you guys, do these videos, that's the only way that I can, grow and let people know who I am and what I'm about, So
yeah, and when you came to me, you said that, and I appreciate you acknowledging what we're trying to do here. And this is like invaluable. Anybody at home that has concepts and deep knowledge like Austin has, please come out of the woodwork and come talk to us. I mean, Austin it's everybody's got kids, right? He's doing his thing and spending time with us, and there's so much more to learn. Austin, we'll talk offline and put this thing together. Let's put together a program or a manual and make this more formal. But Colin, next level, like get Austin on video and document the damn thing.
Right. Yeah, I think it makes a ton of sense. So,
sounds good.
You're on Facebook, right? Yeah. So we'll just have to let's connect there, and let's set a date, man. I got vouchers for this bed and breakfast, man. So like, let's get this party started. I bought like $5,000 worth of free nights at this thing. So
can I pack my Speedo and head to Michigan for a little dip?
Speedos in Ludington might not go over too well. We still like that Jason Aldean, try that in a small town type thing, but
yeah.
Oh man, don't hard sell me. Aldean's, George. George's favorite from a Nashville trip.
Oh, that's right.
Oh boy. Yeah, inside joke. All right. So listen, we're going to take this offline. Austin, Colin and I will collaborate with you and try to put this together and make it as easy on you as possible. But if you do want to share this data, we want to make it available. So, in a bigly way, right? We want some video. We want to build a system. We want to set a trailer on fire and show them how not to do it. We'll have a extinguisher ready, and then we'll build it.
I've got one that we could light on fire if we wanted to.
Well, that sounds fun.
Not trying to catch any charges here.
We'll take the rap. Don't worry. All right, gents. Listen, everybody's got to get home. I got some kids to kiss and get them in bed, and until next week. Austin, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's been a blessing. It's been great, and hopefully, maybe we can do this again. Maybe if we get like a manual written out and
absolutely,
the videos or something. So
we'll
see where this goes. And
do a follow up on this. Let's do a follow up.
Let's do it.
All right, awesome. Thank you, guys. Kick some ass at work tomorrow, guys.
Let's go. Win bigly, y'all. We'll see ya.
See ya.